Let me cut to the chase. You've all heard of Steve Jobs, and you most likely have heard of this particular clip.
Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
Everybody's heard that particular speech, right? As a matter of fact, people always reference connecting the dots looking back. It doesn't matter who you're talking to and what language you're speaking in. Everybody references that great speech by Steve Jobs. Now, I want to illustrate a very important point in your particular dreams and goals and whatever you're trying to accomplish in your life on this planet. My name is Ebong Eka, international best-selling author, founder of Economics, the Economics Academy, and Eka Digital Media. And I want to share with you the important points and things you need to think about that a lot of people aren't talking about when it comes to connecting the dots looking back. And also what characteristics and qualities you need in order to make it a reality. So this is the thing. People talk about connecting the dots looking backwards, and that sounds really good in theory. But when you're going through a difficult time, it only matters if you have the perspective to think about the future is going to be there for your good, right? It is easy to connect in the dots looking back when things are going well, when you have money coming in, when you don't have strife with your family and your friends, and you're not worried about your life, and you're not worried about your safety, you're not worried about your survival. All that is great. But what happens when you get hit with a hurricane? What happens when you get flooded? What happens when you lose your job? What happens when you lose your biggest client? What happens when you lose the love of your life or your family member? What happens when bad things happen to you? That is when you have to think about connecting the dots looking back. You don't understand. People talk about this when they're in a good place and in their good moment, when the time is happening to them in the present time. It's not really going well for them. That's when you have to think about the idea of what the dots looking back look like. And let me give you a quick anecdote. For me, I talk about this book. I talk about me playing professional basketball, all those things. Every single time, there's a few things that I want to illustrate that's very important and hopefully can help and serve you in your particular goals and visions. The first is when I started telling people my dreams of writing this book, I got laughed at. People told me it was a ridiculous idea. Go to the library and look at all the books on the shelves that nobody's reading. That's what somebody told me. When I try to play professional basketball, I have people tell me, go get a job, you're wasting your time, you need to get a visa, focus on the bigger picture, all those particular things. But you gotta understand, at that particular time, I wasn't thinking about connecting dots. I was thinking about fulfilling a dream. When you're thinking about fulfilling a dream or a purpose, the things you do, you have to believe in your intuition and rely on your gut and what you're thinking that works and will make sense based on whatever you've done to acquire the evidence to make the decision. I learned so much about the publishing industry that I didn't need people who had no idea what they were talking about giving me advice. I knew so much about professional basketball and European basketball and foreign basketball that the people who were giving me advice literally had no idea what they were talking about. You know that you're on a perfect path when people are asking for your advice about the thing that you succeeded in. When people are asking you how you're doing it, despite them being further along in their particular goal or journey. I had people I used to watch on television on CBS, One Shining Moment, NCAA tournament playing, asking me how I ended up playing professional basketball. That's when I knew I was on the right track. But you have to understand, at the point I was going through that, I didn't know that was even going to be a possibility or reality. But again, I was thinking about going through what I needed to go through at that difficult time of making that decision. All the great things that have happened to me, and I'm sure you probably would have tested this for yourself, all the great things that have happened have come after going through some difficulty, have come after I've acquired a level of patience, have come after I've learned the very thing that I really need to learn at that particular time. Once I learned that lesson, everything else opened up. And also, great things happened to me when I followed my gut and my intuition. And then I supported it with evidence and facts that I looked for coming from a clear, subjective, and objective perspective. So you're probably sitting there watching, yeah, that sounds great, Ebong, but you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I'm going through right now. You don't know what's happening here, my family, my friends, all this stuff. Look, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. You're not the only one. Some people's stories are worse. Some people's stories are better. It's irrelevant. If you're worried about fairness and you're talking about that's not fair, then you're still living as a child. That's a dream world reality. Life has never been fair. Nature shows you that. The whole idea of nature existing shows you that there's no fairness in that. Why does a bug have to be eaten by a bigger animal? It is built that way in the ecosystem in order for nature to function and survive. That's just the way it is. So live in the world the way it is versus the way you wish it could be. And if you want to change it, then focus on the things you can change. But I want to leave you with this point that's really important. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I want to leave you with this particular point that's really important. When you're thinking about connecting dots looking forward, that mainly applies when you're going through a difficult situation because it has to remind you why you're doing what you're doing to begin with. You have to know that whatever you're doing, whatever endeavor you're on is worth it for the greater good of your life, the greater good of your family, the greater good of your community. And unfortunately, so many people can't think a little bit further than where they are, especially when bad things are happening to you. And I understand that completely. But you have to develop a level of patience. You have to figure out what you're supposed to be learning during that difficult time. The minute you learn that lesson, that's when things start to become alleviated for you. I guarantee you that with everything I'm sharing with you right now. Next, follow your intuition and your gut. People will give you advice. Most of them have no idea what they're talking about. And a lot of them are jealous haters who eventually want to be your admirers. And last but not least, just believe. Life's going to give you a ton of curveballs, but if you believe, and you believe that what you're trying to do is good for the greater good of yourself, your family, and your people, the likelihood of you succeeding greatly increases. People will watch. They will cheer you. Your execution will be worshipped. Thanks very much, guys. I'll talk to you soon.